Hey there, and welcome back to another episode of Be Encouraged Moments. We are so grateful that you are here today, and we are bringing a topic of fear to you today. I think this is a good one, and I think you're going to enjoy it. I'm going to start off. I am reading an excerpt from a speech that Tom Hanks delivered at a graduation party or a graduation service for some college graduates. And I think it really brings the point that I want to talk about home. So I'm going to read this to you, okay? 3 men found they could no longer sleep because of their deep-seated fears. This is a story I'm telling. Their lives were in a state of stasis because of their constant worries, so they set out on a pilgrimage to find a wise man who lived high in the mountains, so high up above the tree line that no vegetation grew, no animals lived, not even insects could be found, so high up in the mountains in that thin air. When they reached his cave, the first of the 3 said, "Help me, wise man, my fear has crippled me." "What is your fear?" asked the wise man. "I fear death," said the pilgrim. "I wonder when it's going to come for me." "Ah, death," said the wise men. "Let me take away that fear, my friend. Death will not come to call until you are ready for its embrace. Know that and your fear will go away." This calmed the pilgrim's mind, and he feared death no longer. The wise men turned to the second pilgrim and said, "What is your fear, my friend?" "I fear my new neighbors," said the second pilgrim. They're strangers who observe holy days different than mine. They have too many kids, and they play music that sounds like noise." "Ah, stranger," said the wise men, "I will take this fear, my friend. Return to your home and make a cake for your new neighbors. Bring toys to their children. Join them in song and learn their ways, and you will become familiar with these neighbors, and your fear will go away." The second man saw the wisdom in these simple instructions and knew he would no longer fear the family who were his neighbors. There, in the cave, so high in the mountains that nothing could live, the wise men turned to the last pilgrim and asked of his fear. "Oh, wise men, I fear spiders. When I try to sleep at night, I imagine spiders dropping from the ceiling and crawling up upon my flesh. I cannot rest." "Ah, spider," said the wise man. "No shit, why do you think I live all the way up here?" Fear will get the worst of the best of us. Peddlers of influence count on that. If fear is cultivated, it will become stronger. If faith is cultivated, it will achieve mastery. Fear is whispered in our ears and shouted in our faces. Faith must be fostered by the man or woman you see every day in the mirror. The former forever snaps at our heels and our synapses and delays our course. The latter could spur our boot heels to be wandering, stimulate our creativity, and drive us forward. Fear or faith, which will be your master?
That's pretty powerful.
Yeah. The parable shared by Tom Hanks talks about the importance of cultivating our faith rather than our fears. Fear is something that I am all too familiar with. I have fear of the unknown. I have fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of not being enough. When fear takes root, it can consume us, and it can motivate our actions. What I mean by motivating our actions is that we can do extraordinary things to escape our fears, and they're not always positive. I saw a meme once on Facebook. There was a woman in her kitchen cooking, and there was a spider on the wall. Next scene was of the house on fire. Obviously, that's an exaggeration. It's pretty extreme. It's not real, but I think it drives the point home.
Mm-hmm.
I wish that I could tell you that there's a very simple answer that helps me overcome my fear, but I don't have one. I think Tom Hanks' statement of faith or fear, which will be our master, has really rung true for me.
Yeah.
That statement is a constant reminder that I have a choice when I'm faced with fear. Knowing that I'm not alone in my fears, that helps. But most importantly, if fear is cultivated, it will become stronger. If faith is cultivated, it will achieve mastery. When faced with fear, I can choose to focus on the fear, or I can choose to focus on my faith. My fears haven't vanished, but I have been able to find peace and a strength within my fear while facing my fears. I have talked recently on this channel about a situation that has weighed heavily on me for the past year. This situation has brought with it an overwhelming amount of fear as I fought for the safety of my daughter and myself. What I found interesting is that during this trying time, I was able to find a calm that I had never experienced before when in the depths of a fearful situation. On the day that should have been the most daunting, filled with so many unknowns, I was calmer than I ever thought possible. Still, I was very nervous, very scared, but I was able to stand stronger than I had ever done before. The reason? I had faith. And the people who loved me had faith. And I was surrounded by that faith. Fear was cultivated that day. Faith was cultivated that day, and faith achieved mastery. I want to leave you with one more quote. As silly as the source may be, I think it has a very real element of truth to it. Fear is the path to the dark side. Fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. Hate leads to suffering. And yes, that is Yoda from Star Wars. But I think it really does kind of break down what fear is. Don't let your fears lead you to that kind of hate, that kind of suffering. Be encouraged. Faith or fear, which will be your master? Thank you for joining us for our Be Encouraged moments.